94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city. Welcome to Walt's World. Yes, man. Walt's World podcast with All-American Walter Luckett in the building. And we also got a very, very special guest in the building. Walt, why don't you introduce him, my brother?
Yes, it's my favorite son and Connecticut's favorite son, Vin Baker. Four-time NBA All-Star. He was an All-American Player of the Year in 1993 with the American East. Three-time first-team All-American, and also lottery pick. Everybody remembers back in the day, man. First pick for the Milwaukee Bucks, eighth pick overall. I remember that day. And also, now he's the assistant coach of the National Basketball Association and an MVP status in terms of coaching, as far as I'm concerned, because you're the first out of Connecticut to bring an NBA championship to Connecticut, man. So welcome to the studio, and also please share with us your journey, because it truly is a wonderful one to listen to.
Well, thank you so much, Walt. Thanks, Juan, for having me on. It's so good to see you, Walt. You know, we go back many, many years, and just want to say I love you, man, and I'm so happy to be on this podcast. So thanks for having me on with you guys. It's my first interview since we won the NBA World Championship about a week ago. Feels like yesterday, man, and how exciting that was to at this point in my life, 49 years old, starting as a little boy in Old Saybrook, Connecticut, and having dreams and aspirations of being in the NBA when I was a young man, and then obviously having an opportunity, God bless me, to be an all-star and all-NBA, to be an Olympian, and then at 49 years old, capturing a world championship with the Milwaukee Bucks. I got to tell you, I can't be any happier as a human being. I'm totally blessed. It's favor and God's mercy in my life, and I'm extremely excited. But you know, Walt, this has been a journey. Like, I've had, you know, the on the court journey, and I've had the off the court journey. I've had the life experiences, the life journey, and I've had the basketball journey, and both of them helped me get to where I am now. You know, growing up in Old Saybrook, Connecticut, small town. My mom working with you at some point at Cheeseboro Ponds, and then my dad being a Baptist minister, man, and ever since I was a little boy. So a very strict household. And then going on to the University of Hartford and playing there for 4 years, becoming the all-time leading scorer there. And then, as you alluded to, Walt, being drafted the 8th pick in 1993 by the Milwaukee Bucks. First 5 years of my career, having an opportunity to be an all-star 4 out of my first 5 years was extraordinary. I mean, it was a run for the ages, the first 5 years. And really, to be honest with you, my first 5 years was on my way to being maybe even considered a Hall of Famer basketball player. But of course, life happens, and I ran into some troubles with some personal troubles with addiction and alcoholism. And it derailed my career, but it didn't derail my life. So it took me out of basketball for a while. I had to regroup and start my life over again, and got a second chance, got a second opportunity. And here I am, man, back with where I started from 30 some years ago, lifting, hoisting a trophy, working with who I think is the best basketball player in the world, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I can tell you, just God is good, man. I'm just a blessed young man.
So Vin, I mean, a couple of things. One, you know, you came on the show, I don't know how long ago it was, and you shared your story, right? Mm-hmm. And I just want to let you know that sharing that story affected a lot of people in our community. And I had people that came up to me and said, Juan, you know, I know you got a story, but hearing Vin, you know, an NBA All-Star, to talk about, you know, battling addiction and you know, and overcoming it, right, gave me that push for me to do the same, right? And so, bruh, believe me, you know, we appreciate, you know, your honesty. We appreciate what you've done. But listen, we appreciate you going to Greece, man, and working with John. Can you tell us about that experience, bruh?
Oh, it was a great experience, man. That's my kiddo, man. I get an opportunity, like, not only the blessing to be back in the NBA, but I get an opportunity to work with this kid, and he's invited me into his world, into his ecosystem, and to help him become, what we want or believe to be the best basketball player in the planet. And so he asked me, well, it was his brother Thanasis, who's also on our team, that asked me to come to Greece and to work with him. So I was primarily working with Thanasis in Greece, and obviously had an opportunity to spend some time with Giannis as well and his family. He has a beautiful family. But this kid is the hardest working kid in the NBA.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, he called me, he FaceTimed me 24 hours after we won the championship. And he never FaceTimes me. And I'm like, I picked up the phone on my way back from the airport, taking my daughter back to the airport, and he FaceTimed me. And he said, Coach, he was still in awe, winning the championship. He said, we got to get the schedule ready for Greece to get back to work. I said, this kid is a different one, man. But Greece was a beautiful experience. It's a beautiful country. He's the man over there, as you can probably imagine.
Yeah.
He joked with me one time when we were over there. He said, Coach, so where's LeBron from? And I said he's from Cleveland. He said, but Cleveland, I said, that's the city in Ohio. He said, yeah, Greece is my Ohio. I run this whole thing. So it's just I'm truly blessed to work with a kid that I can tell you guys, for his talent to be so extraordinary. And Walt, this, like, he's a humble kid. His humility is extraordinary. You and I talked about this often, Walt. Like, you can have the talent and be great at something, but if you don't possess that humility in life as a person, and that humility to know that the game can do anything to you, it can humble the best of us. So just working with him has been a tremendous blessing, because he's so great at what he does, but he's humbled. He has great humility, and man, he's talking about, this is the type of guy, and I'm not saying we're going to win it next year, but this is the type of guy, man, that I could see us going back 2-3 times and having an opportunity to win yet another championship, because he's locked and loaded. He's 26 years old, man, 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and he just won his first World Championship. So needless to say, I've hitched my wagon to that car.
Vin, going back to the old days, one of the things that Mike Donlevy mentioned about you, said you are a great business basketball mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know the game, the X and O's. So it's a benefit to him as well to learn from you.
Yeah.
There's a benefit. You contributed to the championship. And there's no doubt about it. I told Juan, Vin knows the game. Big man. And also, you used to shoot the threes. You used to crack ankles. You know what I'm saying? You did it also. It was a true benefit. It was a great business decision on Milwaukee to bring you on board, because I think the bigs really won the game as far as I'm concerned. You might want to elaborate on that, because I'll tell you, you had 2 7-footers that were playing some real good basketball.
Well, and I appreciate that compliment. What and the great part of Giannis is he acknowledges every time that we work together. He's grateful for me being on board, and we spend a lot of time. A lot of people, I get so frustrated listening to people talk about his game, because he's one of the brightest basketball players I've ever been around. He's blessed with the ability to take the ball from one end of the court and the other end of the court at 7 feet, which we've never really seen before. So but one of the things when we were in Greece, we talked about is the back to the basket stuff. And when I tell you, when I went to Greece and started talking to him about, different, how it goes, Walt and Juan, just different nuances of the game. Like, if you're backing down and you feel that hit, that's your signal to just go ahead and shoot that fadeaway. Right. And he started working on that and getting that down. And so to watch it on the sideline during the course of the season, and then at the biggest stage in basketball, him implementing the stuff that we talked about is just extraordinary. He's one of the brightest basketball minds I've ever been around. And as I alluded to earlier, Walt and Juan, he wants to learn more. And I have things, and he respects me. I obviously have some basketball street cred, and I can tell him, this is what I see, and this is what I think you should do. And he responds, man. He actually takes what you say and goes right on the court and doesn't. And that 50 ball that he put on him in Game 7.
Oh, that was awesome.
and you know what's interesting, I mean, and I gotta say, myself, and Walt, free throws, because we all ball and we know how important those are. Now the thing about it is that he's got great form, right? And he proved to everybody that, hey, I can shoot foul shots, right? 13 out of 14, right?
Yes.
And so, I mean, have you had a chance to talk to him about that? Because, I mean, you had a great shot, man, and your form was fantastic.
So what's great about him, Juan, is like the closing game where he had the 50 ball and we won the championship, he went 17 for 19 from the line.
That's what it was, okay.
17 from 19. And the crazy part is, it started in the Miami series. They started to count the 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So think about if you're a marginal free throw shooter, above average free throw shooter, and then people start chanting in the crowd. That can make, I don't know about y'all, but it would make me speed up. They wouldn't have had to get to 10 because it would have been out of my hand by 3. It would have drove me crazy in my mind having a whole crowd, Miami, Brooklyn, Atlanta, and Phoenix. But man, the irony about this kid is, man, he accepted that challenge. He didn't stop his routine. He didn't change his routine. And he almost, I told somebody yesterday, he almost used the count as a cadence for his rhythm. And I was like, this is extraordinary. And so going into the summertime, man, can you imagine the confidence that he's going to have making 17 for 19 in the closeout game in the finals? I don't think we ever have to, Walt, free throw shooting, and this one is so much about confidence.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So you see what's happening to the kid in Philadelphia, Ben Simmons, his confidence has been shaken. Extraordinary talent, but his confidence has been shaken. This kid just went 17 for 19 in a closeout game. So I think he'll just go this way from here.
And Vin, we talked years ago, and even to this day, when things are difficult on the court, the more you practice it, it becomes easy.
Yes, 100%.
That's I remember we made that rule. Is like, hey, if it's difficult, you keep practicing everything. It becomes your strength.
Exactly. And like I said, he works the hardest. He's the hardest worker I've ever been around. Wow. No matter what he's shooting from the 3-point line, no matter what he's shooting from the free throw line, he's going to get in and put in the work. He doesn't. I was watching the playoffs and listening. Obviously, listen to Fox and SportsCenter and all these different outlets, and they talk about him shooting threes. And I'm saying to myself, as a coach, the guy puts in the work. And Walt, you know this. If you watch a guy put in the work, in the gym in practice, I don't have a problem with him shooting 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 of them. And part of it is strategic. Well, if they play at the free throw line, if they're playing at your free throw line and they're playing you for the drive, at some point you're going to have to make a 3.
Yeah.
Put them up. So my point is, this kid works on his game. For all the people who think about Giannis shouldn't do this and Giannis shouldn't do that, he works on every facet of his game. So I'm telling you right now, he's just scratching the surface of how great he's going to be.
So you give him an A for attitude.
There you go.
Give him an A+ for attitude. 100%. Well.
And that's one of the things that Walt, when we did our show, when we were covering, the finals, one of the things that Walt was real big on was the fact that he really respected this kid's attitude, right? And he's humble, and and just his attitude on the court, not bad mouthing and not, complaining to the refs all the time, and and also, Drew Holiday also mentioned you in one of his interviews.
Big rock.
And talk to me about him, because he caught a lot of flack because he was supposed to be the answer when he came in, right? So talk to me about your relationship with him.
So I have a great relationship with Drew, with all the players, really. Juan, I think one of the things I'm blessed with from being on the coaching side and having success in the league is that when I see certain things, I'll comment on it. I don't comment on the entire game. If you've played the game, you know that you can't comment on every single possession. True. I pick my spots, and I know to pick my spots, because once you do it repetitively and you constantly in their ear, they'll just start to tune you out. So there was a few episodes and a few plays and a few scenes in the playoffs where I went to Drew and basically said to him, "You're being passive. You're being too passive. You got to be aggressive." It started really in the Miami series. Like I think it was like game 1 or 2. And I said, man, I said to him, what are you doing? And I'm going to say it that way now. I didn't say that exactly. I said, what are you doing? And he said, what? I thought we was going to call the timeout. I said, no, you got to just push it. Just keep going. Be aggressive. Be the best. This kid, Drew Holiday, to me, I played with Gary Payton for 6 years. He's got the same ability defensively as Gary.
Wow.
And he's probably got not the same kind of quickness, not the same kind of post-up ability, but he can shoot the ball. He's strong. He's Gary Payton 2.0.
Yeah.
So sometimes playing with Giannis and playing with Chris, you can kind of, get lost in the shuffle. So my message to Drew and what he, said in the press conference is you got to play, man. Play. Just you're the point guard. And I know Yanni gets the ball and I know Chris gets the ball, but at some point they can follow you as well. And it's a simple message, man. Like, don't wait. Especially we're in the finals. Like, if we all go, as you saw, if Chris is going and Drew's going and Giannis is going, we're almost unbeatable, man. So I was happy that it touched me that he said something in the press conference, because you don't know if they're listening or not, but clearly.
Ben, you sound like a head coach here.
Right? I'm telling you.
And the one thing, Ben, that I wanted to mention too that was really nice is that he said as soon as he arrived in Milwaukee, you approached him.
Yeah.
And took him under your wing. So outside the court, inside the court, that's why he was receptive to your constructive criticism.
Yeah. And I think exactly, Walt. I think what happens is people know my story too. Mm-hmm. And so they know I'm an overcomer. They know I'm resilient. They know I have intestinal fortitude. And so when I say something to them, basketball-wise or life-wise, it's coming from a place of I've been there, I've done that, I think this will work. And so that's why I'm fortunate to have their ear from that standpoint. They know I've overcome a lot off the court, and they know I've seen a lot on the court. It's funny because me and Drew Holiday, I'll tell you a funny story about how he really started to feel me as a coach. I don't know how much he knew before, but he walked into the gym one day. He was like, man, I seen you on the Jamie Foxx show last night. I was like, okay, however I get my street cred. I was like, yeah, I was on the show. We started laughing about it and joking about it. But Drew's an extraordinary talent. He just, had 18 points yesterday in their loss to France. He went.
Quick question. You played with Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. You played with Seattle Supersonics. Mm-hmm. And then you played with the Celtics. And I know the Knicks and the Houston, but those first three teams of which were powerhouses, during that period in time, what did you get from each team?
What did I take from each team?
Yeah.
So for Milwaukee, I grew into, being an individual performer. Like, I was an all-star 3 times here. My first year in Seattle, I was the first time I ever won in basketball, believe it or not. I didn't win. I won in high school my senior year. College, I didn't win. Milwaukee, I didn't win. My very first year in Seattle, my only year there, we won 61 games. So I learned how to be a winner there under George Karl, man. That was like maybe my lone experience until coming to the coach's side. Mm-hmm. I learned how to be a winner there. So here I learned how to be a leader. Out of 4 years I was here, Walt, myself and Glenn Robinson, but yeah. I was kind of the captain along with him here and Ray Allen here, but I learned how to win under George and learned how to win with Gary. So those are the 2 things I picked up. And then in the midst of that, I also won a gold medal, Walt, in 2000.
Right.
So I learned so much from Larry Brown. I learned so much from those guys going over to win the gold medal as well.
So Vin, tell me that moment when you decided, hey, listen, I can coach, because a lot of us, me and Walt talk about it all the time, we could never coach, you know what I mean? And so I know that had to come into your mind while you were making that decision. Can you talk to us about when you finally decided to do that?
So it's interesting, Juan, because I think for me, the first part of the coaching came from, I had to get myself together. Like I knew I had something to offer to the game because I learned a lot on the game just because of the personal reasons. So I knew once I got my life right and got my sobriety on track, I knew I had a lot to give. Now, having a lot to give and having my sobriety on track didn't necessarily mean people were ready to hire me either. It was by the grace of God that I got hired. But once I got my life on track, I knew I had a ton to offer the game. Just the way I played the game, as you were talking about earlier, Walt, I was pretty much a point guard at the University of Hartford, and I pretty much played point guard when I was here. So I've seen the game at the highest level and played it at the highest level. So I knew I had something to offer. Now, when I finally got my opportunity to coach, which was 4 years ago, the game had changed drastically. It was big guys shooting threes. It was a whole different ball game. But I was able to watch it, study it. It's just like riding a bike and pick it up and see where people were on the court. But once I got the lingo down, once I knew where the bigs, what they do, what they're trying to accomplish on the court, it was easy. It was really easy to coach, because part of coaching is just mentoring, right? If they trust you and believe you, it's really about, once you gain that trust from a player, you can pretty much tell them to just run for 4 quarters straight and do this, and they'll believe you. So it's really about mentoring, a relationship, having a good relationship, a good rapport. And then once you got that, it's pretty easy to do the X's and O's.
You know, Vin, too, and you can lead by example. You could demonstrate. You could show them.
Yes.
See, that's the big thing about ball players. You could say, shoot the jump shot. Just say, well, let me see you shoot it. You know what I'm saying?
And it's true, Walt, because if I say something to Giannis, this is a true story, and I'm glad you said that, Walt. If I say something to Giannis, he will stop me in the middle of and say, show me. He wants to see it. And so thank God I'm not 50 pounds where I was 10 years ago, and I could actually give him a little bit of it. But you're exactly right. They want to see the stuff as well, Walt. So I'm able to still kind of demonstrate what I'm trying to teach them and what I'm trying to get them to see.
And, one of the things me and Walt talked about was the fact that Milwaukee, your team had great footwork, right? That's one of the things that you were really good at, right? Your footwork was fantastic. I'm not just when you were getting ready to take somebody off the dribble, but also down low, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed that Middleton, his footwork has improved in the last 2-3 years, right? To the point where, he was able to become the go-to person in a couple of those games, man. Talk to me about his development.
So Chris is, he's so underrated, Juan. Like, this dude is he's one of the greatest. I think it was Caron Butler said he's a professional scorer. His footwork is totally it's that 90s footwork.
Right.
He can get in a small box, in a small area. He can rock someone to sleep. He's just got crazy, crazy ability. He's super talented. He's humble and quiet. That's why I think he doesn't get all the praise that the other superstars get. But his footwork it's the best in the game. This dude can do it in the post, and he can do it on the perimeter. And quiet as kept, he's a pretty good defender. So
when
everyone's talking about Batman and Robin and all that stuff, like, Chris Middleton is a legitimate superstar. They didn't give him $250 million because he didn't. Somebody saw something. So
exactly.
He's the real, he basically, as you were alluding to, Juan, when Giannis went down in games 4 and 5 against Atlanta with the knee injury, Chris basically took those 2 games over and got us to the next round. So in Brooklyn, he had a massive game. In Miami, this dude is a bona fide superstar, and Giannis has great respect for him, man, and he's an even better person than he is a basketball player. High character kid.
That's great to hear. And Vin, another guy who really made some contributions on the quiet side was Lopez.
Yes.
Brooke
is
consistent. You know what you're going to get from him.
Yes, and he can. He's adapted his game. If you guys remember Brooke in Brooklyn, sometimes the guys on the team call him Brooklyn Brooke, because he was back to the basket. Here he adjusted his game. Everyone's always like, Brooke needs to get down low. Brooke needs it. But the thing that people don't realize is that we have to keep driving lanes open for Giannis.
Yeah.
So Brook can't necessarily always run to the block and ask for the ball. He has to space the floor. So for us, he's been so good because he can run to the corner, either corner, or he can run to what we call the high quadrant. And if Giannis doesn't have a drive, he can pass it to Brook, and he's pretty much a 35, 36, 37% three-point shooter. So he's been crucial. In another game, I think it was in the playoffs, he had 38 against Atlanta. When Giannis was out, he had a massive game. And so we just another high character kid. These kids have adjusted to Giannis's. Giannis is an extraordinary talent, but Brooke, Chris, and Drew have all adjusted their games, man, to fit that unique talent, and that's why we're world champions today.
And I think too, Vin, in sports as we do, it also takes leadership to get that cohesiveness that you guys demonstrated.
Yes, and 100%, Walt. And we have
look at Tucker. He knew what his role was.
He did. He came in, man, and it was defend the best player and run to that corner every single time. We don't want you running in the middle. We don't want you to handle. Just pick one corner, run that corner, or run that.
Get out of the way.
And PJ's a great leader, man. His voice was. I tell you, Walt, his voice was so awesome.
Really?
In the huddles, because Chris and Giannis aren't vocal all the time. Neither is Drew. And when PJ got here from Houston, man, I'm talking about day one, we heard him. And it lifted us to a whole different Bobby Portis and Bobby Portis and PJ. I can tell you this.
Yeah.
There wasn't nobody ready to swing on us as fast as Portis and Tucker got here. People weren't ready to do this as much as they thought they were before. So they brought a toughness to us, man. And not only are they tough, they got skill. So they were a big part of us winning the championship.
And Vin, let me ask you this question, because I think that it's extremely important, especially in the NBA, right? I mean, your relationship with your coach and being able to come on in there and give advice, and not just in practice, but also during the game and so forth and so on. Can you tell me about that relationship and how you've been able to learn from that? So
yeah, Juan, like the relationship, again, I think it just started with, every relationship starts with trust. And, when I first came back, I don't think a lot of people know, but I was doing broadcasting. I was doing pre and post game.
Right.
So I really didn't have under Jason's regime, Jason Kidd's regime, I didn't have a big voice. But I was allowed to be in the gym. Jason allowed me to be in the gym every day. So I just walked around and kind of stayed out of the way for the first year, but I was building a rapport and building trust. I every now and then touch Chris and say something to Chris, say something to Giannis, and building that rapport. And so over time, and this, Walt, like this is our family. Like we're together more than we're with our own family. So building that rapport for the last 4 years, when you get in the huddles, Juan, or you're in the practices, and again, knowing the game, if you say something, they trust it, man. And they not only have to trust the X's and O's, they got to trust you as a person.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So I think that's the biggest part for me, is I've gained their trust from a personal standpoint, that if I say something on the court, it's pretty accurate, or you can go the other way and not listen, but I think I'm telling you what's right. And but I will say this too, any relationship, not to peel too many layers off, but the one thing I have with these guys, from Brooke to Giannis to Chris to Drew, across the board, is Bobby Portis. We have a loving relationship, man. We're like family. And so
that matters.
Yeah, before I'm their coach, I'm their brother. And so that helps a lot in the journey, man, because a lot of things, it took a lot to get to this championship. And so you got to have guys that are in the foxhole. It can't just be up here. You got to be ready to be in the foxhole with cats too.
Vin, one thing I wanted to point out, and you mentioned it often in our interview, you said you feel blessed. You've always been a man of God. And I know that personally.
Yeah.
And your family, your mom and dad instilled that in you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the reasons why, you are where you are today. Your parents really made a statement in terms of raising you. Your humanitarian efforts were to be complimented as well. I remember when you donated the weight rooms to the University of Hartford.
Thank
I
you.
remember we did golf tournaments, and the proceeds went to the Olympics.
Thanks,
You
Walt.
know,
Thank you.
the summer camps, free
Yeah.
summer camps, and bringing NBA players to speak to them and talk to them about growing up and being decent people. See, so that's a side of Vin Baker that I want everybody to know, that not only were you a basketball player, not only were you a man of God, but you also was a contribution to the communities. And that's where I think God continues to bless you. You will be a future head coach if you keep up what you're doing today.
That's right.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Walt. And to my mom and dad who I'm still super close with, and obviously they love you, Walt. They were so happy that I was coming on today. Hello. But and to that point, what you just said, Walt, I wanted to say, God has blessed me. The biggest thing, we won a championship 4 or 5 days ago, but I want to share this with you guys, is that I've got an opportunity, not an opportunity, I'm going to open up in November here in Milwaukee with American Medical Solutions, my partners, and along with Bouncing Back, my foundation, a recovery center here in the city of Milwaukee, an intense outpatient center that's going to help people that's struggling with drugs and alcohol. So it's all come full circle, man, and I'm just so blessed to be in this position. My organization, my day job, and then using my trials and tribulations and what I went through to ultimately come back and help people. That's what I'm actually most proud of, and what you were talking about, Walt.
That's awesome, bro. So listen, man, before we close, you got to talk about, so you played in Milwaukee when there wasn't 60,000 people outside and a full house inside. Can you talk to me about that, man?
That was awesome.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, it was. This city was amazing. It's a great city. I started my career here in 1993, so I'm like, this is like home base for me. It's like home for me. I have a church here. I have, friends here. So to come back years later and to see that energy in a brand new building, by the way, Pfizer Forum, the best building in the league, and then to see 60,000 people. Now you got to remember this too, Juan. Like, for the last year, with COVID-19, we went in a bubble, and then we began the season with no fans.
True.
So to see this whole thing, we had 0 fans in Pfizer Forum, to be the last team standing with 70,000 people was bonkers, man. It was just bonkers. I've been in my apartment for like 70. I'm gonna wait till it calms down. I'm gonna go get me some catfish, and then I'm gonna come but it was just an amazing experience. I'm so happy for the city of Milwaukee, the people in Milwaukee. This is a blue collar town, man, that so deserving. 50 years, man, since we won our last championship. Yeah. The people here are deserving, the organization's deserving, and the team is deserving.
Well, you did have some help, because when I saw Kareem and Oscar walk into the arena, I was like, yo, it's over now.
Yeah, well, it's so funny, because the funny thing is, Kareem is our guy, all of our guys, but at the beginning of the playoffs, you remember Kareem said the Bucks weren't a championship team. So to have him walk in our building and the guys see him, because social media, man, statement and comment is repeated, especially if it comes from the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But to have him there along with Oscar and us bringing in John McLaughlin, it was just really
John McLaughlin,
special.
Yeah. Now,
go ahead, Walt. No, you go ahead.
I was just wondering, now, is Bob Lanier still in the neighborhood, or is he moved on?
No, I haven't seen Bob quite a bit. I'll tell you who's around a lot. Sidney Moncrief.
Good.
Sidney's around quite a bit.
Nice.
And obviously Kareem, John McLaughlin. Bobby Dandridge is around.
Bobby D.
Yeah, Bobby's around too. So they had all as many as we could get in the building the other night. They were in there to witness the championship.
That's great.
I'm so proud, because you are now officially royalty.
And listen, bro, I know it's too soon, right? But you know that you gotta, you've got a sign on your back now, because everybody's gonna be trying to beat the world champions next year.
Yeah, I know, man, and I know they're coming. I know everyone's talking about Brooklyn and Philadelphia, and we are now the hunted, right?
Yes.
Right? That's fine. Being the hunted, if you know this, Walt, being the hunted ain't a bad thing, man.
Oh, it's a good thing.
True.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. You'll find that when you're being hunted, sometimes when you hunting the hunted, the hunt back now. The hunted hunt back. So we'll be ready for Brooklyn and all of the other teams in Miami and Philadelphia and all the great teams, Atlanta, man. It's just going to be an exciting journey next year, and we're going to start preparing for that in the next couple of weeks.
That's what I was going to ask you, Vin. I know times have changed, so officially you can start practicing when, as a team. What's the timelines that starts that's official?
Yeah, so with the organization, our next steps will be we'll have the draft coming up in the next week or so, and then we'll have summer league. As you remember, summer league.
Right.
We decided not to go to summer league. We had some.
Yeah, I know. We made the decision. I know. Yeah.
So they have summer league, and then camp will start, I think, late September or early October. But individual workouts can start immediately, Walt. So I can go to Greece. Someone can go.
Nice.
And we'll keep going. Those two guys, Drew and Chris, though, will need a long vacation because they're doing the Olympics now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we want to thank you, man, for coming on, brother. So you're welcome here anytime.
Man. I love Walter Luckett. That's my heart, and I wouldn't have missed it for the world. So I appreciate you having me on, Walt. I appreciate it.
It's an honor, and I'm so proud, and the Luckett family and everybody in Connecticut's talking. Juan is the maestro here. He makes it happen.
Thank you, Juan, for having me on, man.
Absolutely.
We're honored, and God bless you and continue success.
Absolutely.
God bless both of you, Juan.
Absolutely, my brother. Walt's World right here, man, at 94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city.